Welcome to another edition of Tuscaloosa Talks. I'm here with a Tuscaloosa legend, Pastor David Gay, here at the beautiful Beulah Missionary Baptist Church. Is it Beulah Missionary Baptist Church or Beulah Baptist Church?
Beulah Missionary Baptist Church.
See, I knew it, but most of the time we say Beulah Baptist Church. But we're in this historic home that we're going to talk about in a little bit. But I'm here with David Gay, one of the great leaders in our community that is doing so much, let me just say, but has done so much. And so, before we jump into some really cool things that Beulah is doing for our community, I'd like people to get to know a little bit about who is David Gay. And I want to start with your experience at Bryce. Mental health is a big thing in this community.
It is.
And you spent time, how many years were you at Bryce?
I did 30 years in all with mental health.
Wow.
And 30 years in all, and I did 4 years at Bryce, 9 at Secure Medical, the Forensic Hospital, another year at North Alabama Regional Hospital, and then other years at Bryce Hospital. So I had a total of 30 years with mental health.
What led you into the mental health field? Because that is a mission field in and of itself.
It is. Back in 1974, when I graduated from high school, I was working at Gulf States Paper. And the job I had was loading boxcars and catching bags off of a machine. Well, I always wanted to wear a tie. And I realized that if I wanted to wear a tie, I needed to go back to school. Back in 1974, Gulf States Paper was one of the higher paying jobs in Tuscaloosa. But I wanted to go back to school and I wanted to wear a necktie. So what I did one day in 1974, I was catching bags off the bag machine, and I decided to quit. And I walked off. Them bags might be still running out there, I don't know. and I walked off the job. That was on a Monday, and on a Wednesday, I started with mental health. And the rest is history. I started off as a mental health worker, working on the ward, taking care of patients, which was an humble experience, really. And teaches you how to be a servant, because you have to be a servant, you have to love what you do. And from that, I progressed through the system with the helpings of the good Lord, went back to school, and ended up from being a nursing assistant to the hospital director.
That's the American dream right there, of working hard and rising up through the ranks. What can Alabama do better? What can our community do better to help with mental health in our community?
Well, mental health has always been a stigma. It's not like primary care medicine, when we go to the doctor, our blood pressure, we got headaches or something wrong with us. When it's mental health, there's a stigma, people frown upon it. And so many times, even people who have mental illnesses don't understand. For instance, if you're on blood pressure medicine, you understand I need to take my blood pressure medicine every day. With people with mental health, they take the medication and then they begin to feel better. And because they're feeling better, they stop taking the medication, not realizing it's the medication that got me feeling better. And so it's a lot of education that has to be done with patients and also through the general public, that the mentally ill, they are people, they are mothers, their daddies, their sisters and brothers, just like other people. And they just need the support and to be on the right medication so they can make it.
Well, over the years, you and I have talked about it, and your heart for our mental health consumers is amazing, but your journey in healthcare and being a servant didn't stop with Bryce Hospital. Now you're directing Maude Whatley. Tell people at home, they may have heard of the name Maude Whatley Health Services. Explain to people who give it a little definition to what is Maude Whatley.
Maude Whatley, what a story that is. Educator here in town by the name of Maude Whatley was a principal here in Tuscaloosa, in the Tuscaloosa City School System. And she realized back in 1976 there was health disparities, especially among minorities in West Tuscaloosa. And so she decided to do something about it. And so she opened up a little one-room house on Herman Avenue back in 1976 with a few friends and some students from the University of Alabama. And from that vision in 1976 for one little house, now we have 12 locations in 7 counties around West Alabama. Again, serving the underprivileged and underserved people throughout West Alabama. We are federally qualified healthcare community mental health center, so we do get federal funds. But the people that we serve, from rural Alabama, people who really need health care. The job is so rewarding. And I'm going to tell you interesting about the job. I applied for the job 20 years ago. It was 18 years ago when I took Maude. While I applied for the job, 18 years ago. I was getting ready to retire from the state. And then I moved from Secure Medical to Bryce to did 4 more years. That was 18 years ago. So when the last director of Whatley got ready to retire, Miss Cynthia Burton called me. And I said, well, I've retired. I'm not interested in working again. I've retired 3 times. I'm a pastor. She said, but you applied for the job 18 years ago. And so fast forward, I said, well,
Cynthia would be the one person who would remember that.
she was the one person, and the one person who would get me to come, because I didn't have a choice, you know.
Oh, yeah.
You don't have a choice, and so the rest is history. But it's been so rewarding. So now it's going on 3 years I've been at Maude Whatley. Last year, we served 21,000 patients. That's the flagship and all of its affiliates. 21,000
That's amazing.
Patients. That's a lot of patients.
During my journey in 2018 when I ran for governor, rural health care is an issue that most people in urban areas have no understanding of just how bad it is. And Maude Whatley certainly fills that gap. What was it like directing Maude Whatley during COVID?
Probably one of the most challenging parts of my career. I've had a long career in healthcare, but it was the most challenging. Challenging in terms of staff. So many of our staff was affected by COVID. My staff, our family, the patients. There was a time when patients could not come. But what we did, we took it to them. We was fortunate to receive funds. We have a mobile unit. And so we went out into rural Alabama, set up tents, set up our mobile unit. In fact, CBS, national CBS, rode down and actually did a story on us on 60 Minutes.
Wow.
For Maude Whatley for the work they was doing in rural Alabama. I mean, we was out in the boondocks. There are some places in Alabama, you know, ain't but one store, one red light.
Yep.
But we were there, and the people really appreciated us being there, and we benefited from being there. I can tell you that it did us good. It's good when you know you're helping people. It's good when you know you're making a difference for people. And greatness is not measured by what one has or has not. Greatness is measured by service rendered. Amen. And when you are a servant for the people know it, and you have to have a heart for it.
Well, you've certainly demonstrated that, and I want to go into now Beulah Missionary Baptist Church, because when I first met you, Pastor Long was the pastor here, and you were a deacon at the church. And when Pastor Long, whose long service here is legendary, you became the pastor. What made the transformation for you from deacon to pastor? What made you want to take on that journey?
Well, at first I didn't want to take it on. I never had planned on being a pastor, but I went back into school and got a degree in theology and all that, along with other degrees that I had. And when Pastor Long was here, I was a servant for him. When I ran Bryce Hospital, I had a $54 million budget, which was big at the time. I had 1,200 employees, but I would take his bookcase everywhere he went. He never drove anywhere. Every funeral, every program I drove for him. I was a servant for him. I drove him all over the country to different conventions and different places, different revivals. He never had to drive. I didn't know at the time that the Lord was going to even call me into the ministry, much less be a pastor. But I do believe that the Lord rewards us for our faithfulness and being faithful. And when you are a faithful servant, I believe that I'm the pastor of Beulah because I was so faithful to Pastor Long. I really believe that was my calling. Again, service rendered. Finding you a king to serve. David found a king to serve, Saul. If you want to be great, find your king to serve. And I don't mean a literal king, but find you someone who you can be a servant to. Mm-hmm. I sincerely believe that.
Now, as pastor, you have done some extraordinary things here. One of the things you and I have talked about is Beulah's grown under your pastorship. but you're outreaching to community. Now, coming up, we're going to talk about Thanksgiving in a second, but let's talk about what's coming up this Christmas for our young people, especially here in West Tuscaloosa, because I know some people who listen to this podcast that may want to help you. What's Beulah going to do? You were telling me before we came on air. Share with everybody what you're about to do for the young kids here in West Tuscaloosa.
For Christmas, we're doing a bike-a-thon. We're giving away bicycles, these brand new bikes to kids in West Tuscaloosa, throughout actually. Whoever, what we do, we find a local organization and we give the bikes to that organization and let them pick out the people in our community who's most deserving of it. Our job is just to get the bikes. 2 years ago, we did 60 brand new bikes to kids in our neighborhoods, kids who we just wanted to bright up Christmas Day for them. A church has to be more than just in a community, it has to be part of the community. And I think it starts with the corporate culture of the church, and I'm the CEO of the church. Mm-hmm. And it's my job to set the culture, and our culture is one of giving, one of not just being in the community, but part of the community, and making a difference in the community. We have been one of the fastest growing churches. We was pre-pandemic, we was taking in about 200 and some new members a year.
That's astounding.
Our Bible study, we had about 200 people in Bible study. But it's because people want to get involved. People want to see churches. If your church closes today, the question is, will the community know it tomorrow? And if the answer is no, then you got some work to do. It's more to it than coming in here hollering, hooping and hollering on Sunday, and your doors are only open on Sunday or Wednesday night. Well, what about the rest of the week? People don't quit needing to be cared for just on Sunday, but they need help on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And I can proudly say throughout the whole pandemic, we got what we call a GO team here. We established a GO team during the pandemic. From the day the pandemic hit in March, our doors stayed open. And we gave out food, we gave out clothes. We had coaches from the University of Alabama came by here. Mel, you came by here. Dr. Darius came by here. We worked every day, longer than Ernestine Tucker, during the pandemic. It was
amazing. We
never shut the doors up.
It reminded me of the quote by St. Francis of Assisi, who said, if necessary, preach the gospel, if necessary, use words. And your actions show our faith. I mean, that's the walk of Jesus. Our words ultimately have to be fortified with our actions, and you definitely do that. Now, this Thanksgiving, you're going to be reaching out, helping the community. Tell people in Tuscaloosa what this great church is going to be doing to make people's Thanksgiving a little bit better.
Last year during Thanksgiving, we gave out around 1,500 boxes. And I'm not talking about little small boxes. These boxes had turkeys and chicken and mashed potatoes and gravy and sweet potatoes.
This wasn't a TV dinner.
No, this wasn't a TV dinner. We started doing this. We started working toward Thanksgiving all the way in August. You can't go into Walmart or Piggly Wiggly or Winn-Dixie and say I want 15,000 canned good items. It don't work like that. And so the GO team begins back in the summer working toward Thanksgiving. And so we're doing the same thing this year, a little more selective this year. A lot of people have received government assistance this year, and so a lot of people have gotten food vouchers or food stamps and whatever, but there still is a big segment of our population who does not have it, especially seniors. A lot of our seniors are still trying to decide whether to buy food or pay for the medication. And so we want to target those individuals, those seniors or others who really need it. Mm-hmm. And so we're saying if anybody throughout West Alabama, and last year we had people drive our way from Jefferson County, but if anybody's in need of a food box, call our church 205-758-9560. We'll deliver it to them. We want to give the food away. We want to help somebody. We don't charge anything for anything that we do. Again, we're in the ministry to help, to serve, and so we solicit the input of the community. If you know of anybody who really needs food, a food box for Thanksgiving, let us know. We'll get it to you.
So
So we'll bring it to them.
And if somebody's interested, whether letting you know about somebody for the Thanksgiving ministry or wanting to donate to that ministry or the Christmas ministry, who should they call again? Let's make certain we tell them one more time.
If anybody interested in making a donation to the church for any of our ministries, for the bike-a-thon, for Christmas or the Thanksgiving, 205-758-9560. That's 205-758-9560. If someone is not there, you can just leave a message, and the secretary will be able to call you right back. You know, we get so much support from the community and all over. Mayor, we couldn't have a better mayor, and I say this all the time. He's my mayor, and I've known him before he was a mayor. And he spoke at this church. He came here and supported us during our educational drive, and I don't have a better personal friend. And anytime I called to go down and talk to him, I prayed with him. I can truly say that he's my mayor, and he has a heart for God's people, and so we share that alike, Mayor. I can tell you that.
Well, that means coming from you. That means more than you can ever imagine, because I've just been struck over the years by your heart and compassion. And then the other side of that is you get things done, and how you motivate in so many ways volunteers. But I think it's the words that you preach inspire action. And you know, if Tuscaloosa had 100,000 David Gays, there's no telling what we could accomplish, and I mean that. And it's just been a real joy to have you. Now, you're not supposed to ask a question you don't know the answer to. That's what that's what I've been told, right? But I'm going to ask a question I don't know the answer to. Has SCLC decided if they're going to hold the breakfast here this year, coming up for Martin Luther King Day celebration?
I have not heard yet, but traditionally, if they have wanted to be here.
Oh, it is a mainstay. You have got to come. Now, is it the Beulah Lights that cook?
The Beulah Lights cook. We got the best cooks in town.
Amen.
That's no cook. Again, it goes back to service and serving the people. And again, you know, the pandemic though has taught us a lot of things. It really has. We launched a TV broadcast. We on every Sunday, WBUA at 2 p.m. every Sunday. We launched a broadcast right in the middle of the pandemic. We was already doing YouTube and Facebook. But it showed us that there are a lot of people who want to support you, that will support you if they see a good ministry. Mm-hmm. And it don't have to be Beulah. If I see a good ministry somewhere else at someone else's church and our neighbor, I'm going to invest in it. Because I believe if you plant good seeds in good soil, you're going to get a good harvest.
Amen.
Good measures, pressed down and shaken together.
I tell you what, I see why this church continues to grow. Tuscaloosa's lucky to have you. Pastor Gay, you've always got a friend in me, and Tuscaloosa certainly is fortunate that you call this place home. So God bless you, my friend.
Thank you, my man. Thank you.
And this has been another edition of Tuscaloosa Talks.